Thanks for staying with us. I'm Laura Ingraham in for Bill O'Reilly. And in the Factor Investigation segment tonight, new details in the brutal school bus attack that left a 13-year-old with a broken arm, 2 black eyes, other bruises. The savage beatdown occurred on July 9th in Pinellas County, Florida, where 3 15-year-old boys confronted the victim on the way home from school.
You gotta get somebody up quick. They're about to beat this boy to death over here. Please get somebody up quick. But they still do it. I know I can do. Leave that boy alone. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. You know y'all going to jail. Y'all going to jail.
The attackers are black and the victim white. But when asked if race was a factor, the sheriff said this.
The race difference between the victim and the defendants in this case is purely coincidental. There is absolutely no indication that race was a motivator in the attack. The motive was retaliation.
Police say the attackers were angry at the boy for ratting them out after they tried to sell him pot in the school bathroom. The 3 boys are charged with aggravated battery, could face 15 years in prison if tried as adults. Meantime, the bus driver, John Moody, is now under fire for not physically intervening after yelling at the boys to stop and calling dispatch for help. Joining us now for commentary on this, of course, is Geraldo Rivera, our friend from New York. And Geraldo, I hate even looking at this video. I hate kind of even showing it because it's so disturbing on so many levels. But it is curious, I think, that when we have this conversation about race in America today, ongoing after the Trayvon Martin case, we have this beating as we had it. And then we're just taking the attacker's word that it wasn't racially motivated, and does there need to be more investigation on this, or are you satisfied?
I think that you have to back up, Laura, and just examine our own profession. That's where I start. You know, being in the radio, I didn't see the video for a long time. I had no idea that the 3 attackers were black and the victim, the 13-year-old, was white until I finally did see the video. I read some excerpts, some news, you know, from CNN.com and other news agencies. They never mentioned the race of either the assailants or the victim either. Now, if the shoe was on the other foot, I think it's fair to say if 3 white kids had stomped on a 13-year-old black kid, you would have had, particularly in the post-Trayvon era, you would have had a massive movement. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, and all the others. It would have been one of the crimes of the century. And I think that they
would be hosting shows from Pinellas County, okay? Al Sharpton would have moved down there, Geraldo. They'd be shutting down the town, and they'd be screaming from the top of the hill. I'm not saying it was racial, by the way, but I think it's worth pointing out.
It's not about, you know, we'll get to the investigation of what motivated the boys, the 15-year-olds, but I'm talking about us. I'm talking about the media. I'm talking about the press. We have a wretched double standard here, and I think that we really have to be honest with ourselves. If this had fit the victim stereotype of past civil rights violations, we would have been all over it, but because it did not, and it was kind of, you know, the 3 thugs and the victim, so we could let it be race neutral. I don't agree with that. I think, as Cornel West, the famed professor, said, race matters, and we have to talk about it, particularly in the post-Trayvon era. Now we get to the sheriff and others who say that it wasn't because the victim was white and that the perpetrators were black. It was not racially motivated. It was that the kid ratted out one of the 15-year-olds, the Julian, for selling him attempting to sell him the $10 bag of pot. Be that as it may, it still is relevant that we have to talk about who these young kids are, who these young men are, and what they did.
Well, it goes back to O'Reilly's talking points memo of last week, the week before, when he was talking about this scourge of crime. It's especially hitting minority communities. In this case, of course, it hit a white kid. And that's, again, we don't know much of the underlying facts, but what is happening in the families of these children, where a boy is crouched in the seat. He's one boy, and there are 3 boys, and they're screaming epithets at him. I guess they're throwing $5 bills, and they're screaming at him and just pounding on him. I mean, it's not one-on-one. This is 3-on-1. You know, and it would be nice if more people like Sharpton and all these others,
but you're getting into the sociology of it and the background of the kids, and I think that is fruitful for down the road. But right now, did the bus driver do enough? Did the bus driver intervene in an appropriate way? I think that you don't, you know, heroes come along and you can't make a person a hero. I think that John Moody did what he thought he could do. He retired after 18 years on the job a week or two after the incident. He was so traumatized and in his own mind assessing whether or not he did enough.
Yeah, he was an older guy, and I think he felt like he didn't have the strength to do it, and he probably was afraid. And these kids are big. They're not the 15-year-olds of 20 years ago. They all look like pretty big kids, and he was afraid.
We should have reported who they were, and we did not. I think we failed.
Thank you, Geraldo. And next.